All right, so looks like we're all good to go. Looks like everybody can hear me clearly. Um, this is some breaking news, by the way. In case you do not know who I am Niko House, host of the political radio show Mikasa S. Sukasa. And Bill Cosby has just been found guilty on all accounts for his sexual assault case in Philadelphia. I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm skeptical. You call me what you want to, but I'm skeptical. I mean, like I said, when it comes to Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, like people, I'm just talking about Kanye. Another example, Kanye West, stars who refuse to toe the establishment narrative, who refuse to stay in their place. Like Bill Cosby tried multiple times to buy NBC. First time he tried it, his son randomly ends up killed on the side of the highway. Next time he tried it, this happens. Because they couldn't give him a legal reason as to why they wouldn't, and he was pursuing it like heavily. They couldn't give him a legal reason as to why they wouldn't sell it to Bill Cosby, but they would sell it to other people. And this is the kind of thing that happens. So I'm skeptical. Why? I'm not skeptical that a woman accused a celebrity of sexual assault. I'm actually surprised that probably doesn't happen more often. I'm not even skeptical that they said that he probably used drugs at some point to try and coerce them. That still happens. So I'm not surprised by that. What I am surprised about, however, is the uniformity of all the stories. You telling me this man learned no new tricks over the course of 60 plus years? Not exaggerating, 60 plus years. He's been longer than that, I think. But we're going to go with 60 that he's been famous. He's been doing the exact same thing over and over again. Okay. I don't buy it. I'm not going to lie to you. And it's from an actual political perspective. It has nothing to do with victims who consider themselves victims. Like I always say, we always want to advocate for people who consider themselves victims. And I'm not going to try and bash the victims here. My only complaint is if you want to talk about the victims, I feel like if you were in 1960s and the 70s and you want to try and tell me that you as a white woman were scared to accuse a black man of sexual assault, I'm probably going to call you a liar. That's as far as the victim blaming goes. So the recent ones in the 2000s and in the late 90s, maybe, I give leeway totally to that. But if you're going to tell me in the 60s you were scared to blame a black man for sexual assault, especially a high-profile black man for sexual assault, I don't know about that. We were still getting lynched for looking at people, so I seriously doubt that. But it has nothing to do with the victims themselves as much as it has to do with the people involved. And once again, the uniform nature of all of their stories and the fact that he was totally acquitted on one case. 80 women came out of literally nowhere. Literally nowhere. And I mean, it's gone crazy, right? He's gone, the suits just stacked on top of each other. At the same time, and these women, by the way, were elevated. These women were given platforms, right? Not even a couple of years later, the Harvey Weinstein situation happens. Those women weren't even paid off. They didn't even think they were worth being paid off. Those women were actually silenced. Those women were disallowed from attending the Academy Awards at the same time that women like Oprah tried to pretend as if she was for the Me Too movement. And they actually banned the woman who started the Me Too movement from attending. So, want to know what's even more interesting? This is some fun fact. This is why politics is so fun. You can learn a lot about politics or from politics about pop culture also, because a lot of the times they're intertwined. But you know, the woman that is in common with both of those stories, Lisa Bloom. Now, if you all don't know, Lisa Bloom is a staunch Hillary Clinton supporter, and she is the establishment attorney supreme. Her job is to defend the status quo no matter what. This is the same Lisa Bloom, people, who said that Harvey Weinstein was just an old dinosaur. He just is a man stuck in his old ways. Totally didn't say he wasn't guilty. Didn't deny the allegations. Didn't say he should have been held accountable. In fact, she said he's on the way to Europe. She was his lead advisor, which means how do you think that Lisa Bloom knew about all those sexual assault allegations and all the sexual assault that Harvey Weinstein committed? Probably. Now that Lisa Bloom, who worked to silence victims on behalf of Harvey Weinstein and exonerated Harvey Weinstein, saying that he was simply a victim of his time, worked to create a panel of women who all accuse Bill Cosby of sexual assault around the same time that he was trying to buy NBC. And guess whose mother was also involved in representing these women? Oh, coincidence. Lisa Bloom again, who's also known, but she's the reason that Lisa Bloom is now the establishment Cape Crusader, because that used to be her mom's job and it still is. Yeah. Lisa Bloom is also the one who created that fake sexual assault case against Donald Trump, and it was actually it's fake. It was not real, because Donald Trump pretty much kept saying, "Okay, if it's a real case, try me, take it to court, let's hash it out." Where'd it go? Didn't work. They didn't get the reaction they thought they would. It's like you're gonna try to say he's a possibly, like, you're not gonna win people over by accusing Trump of being possibly a misogynistic sexual assaulter, a serial sexual, like, people probably unfortunately already know that, and our country is much more complacent in that than we care to admit. So that's not going to be what unseats him from his throne, but it didn't work. But that was also Lisa Bloom who started that one. And yes, Marsha, I am aware. That's what I was just talking about. She said, Marsha Smith asked if I knew that Lisa Bloom was Gloria Alfred's daughter, and I was saying, actually, yeah. Now, some interesting facts about this case. Lisa Bloom is involved. So is Gloria Alfred, Lisa Bloom's daughter. And Bill Cosby actually tried to get the judge to recuse himself. Because once you start getting to a certain level, like when you hear it's like a weird verdict, you got to start looking up the people who are elected. And judges are. Unless he was a federal judge, which I don't think he was. No, I don't think it was a civil suit. So, this was an elected official. Bill Cosby actually tried to replace the judge. I wonder why. Because, and this is according to the New York Times, people, Dr. O'Neill, the spouse of the trial judge presiding over this case, has apparently donated marital assets to the very organization that will be protesting against Mr. Cosby on his upcoming retrial, who stated the purpose is to show support for Andrea Constant and the other 404 accusers. 404, I thought it was 80. Okay, let's see, went up. The Montgomery County District Attorney's Office, which is prosecuting the case, objected to the request for a recusal in the court papers, in which it referred to the assertions of partiality as unfounded and malicious allegations. The judge's wife is actively involved in an organization that said straight up, we're supporting the accuser, regardless of whether or not she's guilty. Or excuse me, regardless of whether or not she's telling the truth, which, like I said, I'm all for victim advocacy, but then the responsible thing for that judge to do would be, if you are a legitimate, objective, responsible, integrated judge, you would recuse yourself from that. Because what do you look like? Seriously, people, think about it. What do you look like going home to your wife after you just let Bill Cosby off, after she was strongly advocating for this woman against him? Like I said, I'm not saying whether or not Bill Cosby is guilty of sexual assault. If you know my stance on it, I would say that 99% of men, if they've ever been in multiple encounters with multiple women in any situation, probably guilty of sexual assault. They don't even know it, because that's just the way our society has programmed us. But when you're about to make a huge transaction that could generally reshape Hollywood, and not reshape it in a way that would benefit those who are already in charge, and all of a sudden all these men come up, all these women came out, backed by Lisa Bloom and her mother, Alfred. I got reason to be skeptical, because now once again we have to highlight the hypocrisy. Because Harvey Weinstein had the same thing happen, and the establishment went to cape for him. When Bill Cosby had this situation happen, everyone turned their backs on him. Lisa Bloom stayed with Harvey Weinstein and supported him despite her victims advocacy work. And yet Bill Cosby, 100% certain he's guilty, no chance that there could be any conflict of interest. Okay. So first things first, Bill Cosby tried to get the judge to recuse himself. They said that the accusations from Bill Cosby about the judge's wife openly advocating for Andrea Constand via donations, they said that was a lie. It was malicious. It was unfounded, even though there was paperwork. This was a fact. So that's the first red flag. Bill Cosby probably realized at that very moment that the deck was stacked against him. Now, going forward, there was a key witness. A key witness came out that worked with Amy I'm gonna make sure I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Amy Constrand. Because she used to be the former basketball coach for Temple. And the witness, Marguerite Jackson, a Temple University staffer who claims Bill Cosby's chief accuser, Andrea Constand, once told her she could make a false allegation against a high-profile person to get money to go to school and open a business. In the court filings, prosecutors have dismissed Jackson as unreliable and calling her story absurd and a red herring. They didn't even give a reason as to why that story was considered absurd. She was a staffer. She worked close to Constand. And, by the way, she took the money. When she first accused Bill Cosby, as many celebrities do, they don't even want to deal with it. They just pay off their accusers. This is not only consistent with male celebrities, but Oprah was sued for assault also. Not joking. They don't even want to deal with it because their brand is more important than winning a trial. So Andrea took the money, actually. And once Amy Bloom reached back out to her, Lisa Bloom and her mother reached back out to her, she joined that panel. and became Bill Cosby's most high-profile accuser, and that's not by design. That's that's on purpose. Like I said, she was a coach for Temple basketball, for the women's Temple basketball, and that means she's a popular figure in Philadelphia, by the way. Now, they did reverse the position about that witness, but it has to be after Constant takes the stand. Then we'll decide whether or not we'll let the witness speak. That was according to Judge O'Neill. So that's 2 red flags. You're starting to get my point here, people. And then one person, remember, like I said, the first big case that we were that we had availability to see in the results of was that huge case. Well, I think it was the Playboy Mansion, where he was totally exonerated from, totally acquitted from, because they said, "Yo, nobody even remembers you being there." And then, because what happened was, they said Bill Cosby drugged her there, then brought him back to her place, and then assaulted her, because that's what everybody said. Bill Cosby drugged me, then assaulted me, drugged me, assaulted me, drugged me, assaulted me, drugged me, assaulted me. This woman made a mistake and said that she was at the Playboy Mansion whenever her and Cosby went out. Didn't realize that there were people who were also there that same day, because it's kind of hard to forget when you were partying with Bill Cosby, I'm sure. And they were like, we don't even remember her being there. No one could corroborate her story. And so she was on that panel of women that Lisa Bloom put together and was totally acquitted. And it's like, once again, mind you, all of the establishment abandoned Bill Cosby. So we can't even pretend like people were... the only person defending Bill Cosby is his wife and his kids. It's the truth. It sucks. Like I said. But Lisa Bloom is corrupt to the core. Corrupt establishment dim, who literally didn't justify Harvey Weinstein, but she excused him and exonerated him and defended him and said he's a victim of his time. He's an old dinosaur. Once he goes to Europe and takes his vacation, he'll come back a new man, I promise. Chief advisor to Harvey Weinstein, who apparently, it's been known that he was a high-profile sexual assaulter, serial sexual assaulter, that many people were simply scared to confront because of his pull in Hollywood. And yet, on the other side of that fence, he has the nerve to pretend as if she cares about sexual assault or sexual assault victims. I genuinely care about sexual assault victims. So that's why I hate when people like Lisa Bloom give anybody who denies sexual assault, like it's not a reality and like it's not common, when you give those people an opportunity to pretty much shit on sexual assault victims by making up potentially false allegations, like what happened with that trial that Bill Cosby was acquitted, that's a problem. It's like with race baiting. When there's actually, like with Joy-Ann Reid, race baits, every time someone critiques her or Maddow or Donna Brazile or any of these other women or men of color or any of these other black men, whenever you're attacking a woman of color, you're just attacking a black man. You're just like, hold up, no, I didn't even mention the person's color. I literally only talked about policy. But that gives the people who are always talking about race baiting and swear to God that racism isn't real, it gives them ammo. So that's why I hate when people try to take advantage of a movement. Especially when it's for the establishment gain of a couple of people. You start to notice these patterns when you're in politics. Certain people get punished. Certain people walk off scot-free. Certain people get the benefit of the doubt. Certain people, they get taken down by any means necessary. And it seems like, to me, the people who are caping for the establishment always get the benefit of the doubt. And yet, people who are trying to change the status quo, whether that be Michael Jackson, who was never found guilty of anything, whether that be Bill Cosby, whether, we want to go back in the day, Muhammad Ali, remember? They tried to send him to jail. People forget. He said, I don't want to kill other poor people when y'all can't take care of me right here at home. Y'all are literally oppressing us right now, but you want me to go kill other poor people. And you know what they call him? A communist sympathizer. They took his boxing license away, said he was unpatriotic, and we want to pretend like the world gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe in other countries they gave him the benefit of the doubt, but largely America depicted him as the enemy. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, same thing. If Kareem wasn't so wildly successful, if Muhammad Ali wasn't so wildly successful, Oscar Robertson, if he wasn't so wildly successful, Bill Russell, if he wasn't so wildly successful, they would have all been thrown into the dirt by the establishment for what they were advocating for. Because remember, these people weren't just speaking up about black issues. They were calling out crony capitalism. They were speaking out against these wars. And it seems like the ones who defend the status quo are always defend. Bill Clinton got to serve out his time as president after performing conduct unbecoming of an officer as a president and commander-in-chief. And guess what happened? Oh, let's not forget what happened with Bill Clinton. Remember, they attacked Monica Lewinsky. Lisa Bloom was nowhere to be found. Gloria Alfred was nowhere to be found. Because that's what Gloria Alfred was known for, in case nobody knows. Once again, that's what they do. Gloria Alfred and her daughter Lisa Bloom protect the establishment no matter what. They protect the status quo, both Hollywood and in politics, no matter what. And yet, when Lisa Bloom, because this is why I love patterns, somebody breaks their pattern, it should become clear and apparent that there might be something else going on. Now, I want to be very clear about something, because I actually don't like this attack that's been used over and over again. Because Bill Clinton, or not Bill Clinton, well, him too, but now saying someone drugged a woman, as in they slipped something into their drink unknowingly, and forced them to take a drug without their knowledge, that's drugging women. Now, if a woman decides to take a drug, if a man decides to take a drug on their own accord, which, believe it or not, in the 70s I heard was a pretty fucking popular thing, then you can't say that you just drugged somebody. That's not reality. Because how many of you men have bought a drink, or how many women have had a drink bought for them, and they end up going home with that same person sometimes? Not as popular now, but it used to be very popular back in the day. How many women have only made out with a guy in the club if they are drunk, and it happens to be the guy that bought the drink for them? You only did it because your inhibitions were removed. So I don't like he drugged women because they both took drugs together and they had sex. That's not called drugging women. I'm not saying he didn't drug women, but if that's your definition of he drugged women, then I'm going to need you to that's not accurate. We can call a spade a spade. I'll be more than happy to admit that at some point Bill Cosby probably did sexually assault somebody. I can almost guarantee it. But I don't like when people who are uncomfortable with the reality that their narrative could be misguided, that they could be a victim of a preconditioned it's 2:30 anyway. So like they could be a victim of like a preconditioning that makes you automatically attack the one person that all the media on both sides are focused on. Because we're trained to be that way. Remember when we all hated Gaddafi? We all thought Gaddafi was a monster. Yeah, we were wrong. Remember, Bill Clinton was considered the first black president because he played jazz one time on the Arsenio Hall show. He played a damn saxophone. And all of a sudden, he was the first black president, and you could never say otherwise. Remember, Hillary Clinton was the anointed one. If you said otherwise, you were a sexist. Remember, Bill Clinton did not sexually assault or engage in no sexual relations with that woman. If you said otherwise, it was Monica Lewinsky's fault. During the debates, whenever Trump, which was wild, brought out Bill Clinton's sexual assault victims, because everybody talked about his sexual assault victims, which, once again, I believe, of course, Donald Trump is absolutely a serial sexual assaulter, clearly. But Bill Clinton's victims were out there, and guess what Hillary Clinton did? She blamed them, or she silences them. And she has a history of doing so. Whenever Hillary Clinton won or got that guy off of a crazy rape case by tampering with evidence and laughing about it. Oh, by the way, she laughed about it. And guess what her supporters said? That was in the past. You know, you don't really understand the details of that case. But Monica Lewinsky was blamed. All those victims were blamed. But whenever it's somebody outside of the establishment, whoever that person is blamed. Now, you all know me. I'm a very objective person. I'm very aware of the realities of a lot of these industries because I've been in some way involved in a lot of the industries, in the music industry, entertainment. I've been involved, obviously, in the independent journalism world. I'm still involved in the political world. The patterns are there. They're evident. If you want to ignore them, that's reality. I'm not saying that Bill Clinton, I'm not even claiming whether or not Bill Cosby is guilty or innocent. That's not what I'm here to say. What I'm here to do is educate you on these really weird and reoccurring patterns, however, of, hey, why are these people getting off? Why are we ignoring? We don't talk about Harvey Weinstein, or apparently the movie Twitter does, apparently. Like, they still trash him, which is good. But the general world stopped focusing on Harvey Weinstein once he ended up in Europe. We don't even talk about the fact that he just was out. And he got off. He got off scot-free. Think about that. He's still making money. His productions weren't taken down. Like Bill Cosby, once he was accused of something, everything was dropped immediately. It was really weird. With Harvey Weinstein, we don't know until, is that a recording? Shit. Well, we don't even know if that's really her or they're really together, you know? Like, it's excuse after excuse. With Bill Clinton, it was excuse after excuse. With Hillary Clinton, it was excuse after excuse. With Lisa Page, she could find every excuse to defend Harvey Weinstein and every excuse to lambast Bill Cosby. The same Bill Cosby who, once he announced he was trying to buy NBC the first time, his son ended up dead on the side of a highway. Once he announced the second time, the sexual assault allegations dropped. And it's a weird pattern because this is what happened with Michael Jackson too. By the way, you should really look up that case. Michael Jackson was stepping outside of the status quo. Michael Jackson was on the way to becoming an independent artist and actually encouraging other big name artists to do the same. Michael Jackson was calling out the establishment. Michael Jackson was calling out war and the military industrial complex. I'm sure you all know the song "They Don't Really Care About Us." That's what that was about. He was doing it more and more often, and then look what happened. All of a sudden, every kid that's ever came into contact with Michael Jackson, he supposedly sexually assaulted. Never found guilty of any of it. And of course, he ended up dying. Think about that, people. You can't ignore pain. I know our emotions kind of like take over at times, especially on the progressive side. Our emotions take over, but the patterns are clear. Jimmy Dore is a conspiracy theorist now. Why? Because he decided to step outside of the establishment narrative. He's claiming that Syria was a hoax. All he said was, your journal or your senator, the United States Senator Rand Paul, said there's no proof that this chemical attack happened according to on the ground sources, according to intelligence. But Jimmy Dore is an assault, or excuse me, he's a truther. They try to use that word, or truther, as a negative thing. But they consider him a conspiracy theorist. Why not call Cenk a conspiracy theorist or call him out on his hypocrisy? Why not call out Joanne Reed? Why not call out, all these other people who are literally peddling the Russiagate conspiracy? Patterns, people. Patterns. I'm not saying whether or not I believe he's guilty or not guilty, but what I am saying is it is very important to recognize patterns. Because you never know. It could be you next. And you don't want the reason you are found guilty or innocent. What party affiliation are you? Okay. Who did you back during the 2016 election? Okay. And do you support all of the narratives given to you by CNN, MSNBC, and New York Times and Washington Post? Check. Okay, I guess we can make sure you're innocent. God forbid you say anything else. And you might end up in jail. For all the sexual assault victims out there, of course, I do stand with you. I did a whole segment on the realities of sexual assault. I'm never the type of person to blame the victim. But I will blame Lisa Page. And I will call out the inconsistencies in her support for sexual assault victims. I will call out the establishment and what they've been able to get away with, and what coincidentally the people who have tried to change the establishment have not been able to get away with. Or not even, we don't have to have the burden of proof for those standing against the establishment seems to be far less. I'd love to know your thoughts about this. Leave your comments below. But hey, more than anything else, always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.